The highway had been empty for 40 miles. Not empty in the peaceful way. No soft hum of distant traffic. No glow of approaching headlights in the rearview mirror. Just a stretch of asphalt cutting through black pine forest and low hills, the road curving like a dark ribbon under a moonless sky. I'd been driving too long. The kind of driving where the world shrinks to three things: the white lines, the glow of the dashboard, and the hollow cone of headlights ahead. My eyes kept drifting to the rearview mirror even though there was never anything there. Just darkness. Then my hazard lights came on. The click echoed sharply inside the car. Tick. Both amber indicators on the dashboard began blinking in perfect rhythm. Tick. I frowned and glanced down at the hazard button. I hadn't touched it. Great, I muttered. Electrical issue. Maybe a loose connection. The blinking continued. Tick, tick. The sound filled the quiet cabin like a metronome. Outside, the forest pressed close to the narrow shoulder of the road. Trees stood tight together, their trunks pale in the headlights before dissolving into shadow. I slowed the car and pulled onto the gravel shoulder. The tires crunched. The engine idled. The hazards kept blinking. Tick. The orange reflections flashed faintly against the road sign behind me, lighting the metal surface for a split second each time. I leaned forward, rubbing my eyes. The blinking felt louder now, more deliberate. Tick, tick. I reached for the hazard button. Before I touched it, I noticed something strange on the windshield. Another blink. A flash of amber light slid across the glass, but from the wrong direction. Not from the corners of the car. From the side. I paused, hand hovering over the button. Another flash came. The reflection streaked across the windshield again. Thin, rectangular, and slightly higher than the car's own signals. My stomach tightened. That shouldn't be possible. Hazard lights reflect outward, not sideways across the front glass. I slowly lifted my head and looked through the windshield. Darkness, empty road ahead. No other cars. But every time the dashboard lights blinked, tick, another flash appeared in the darkness outside. Not synchronized, just close. My hazard lights blinked again. Tick, a second flash answered from somewhere beyond the hood. Fainter, slightly delayed, like an echo. I sat still. The car hummed quietly beneath me. The forest remained motionless. But the blinking continued. Tick, flash, tick, flash. The outside light wasn't coming from another car. It wasn't bright enough, and it wasn't in the right place. It seemed higher, floating just beyond the edge of the headlights. I leaned closer to the windshield. The beam of my headlights stretched 30 or 40 feet ahead before dissolving into the trees. The flash appeared right where the light faded, just outside it, like something standing exactly at the border of visibility. My hazard lights blinked again. Tick, the outside light answered. This time I saw it clearly. Two small amber shapes, vertical, blinking, not attached to anything. They hovered in the darkness like detached pieces of a vehicle. Just the lights themselves, floating in the air. My throat tightened. That wasn't possible. They blinked again. Flash. A split second later. Tick. My dashboard lights followed. I froze. The order had reversed. The outside lights blinked first now. And my hazards answered. I looked down at the button. My finger hadn't touched it. But the car had changed rhythm. Flash. Tick. Flash. Tick. The blinking outside felt deliberate. Testing. I shut the hazards off. The dashboard lights went dark. The clicking stopped. For a moment, the forest returned to perfect silence. Then, flash. The outside lights blinked once. Alone. I felt the hairs on my arms rise. Another flash. This time closer. The two amber lights drifted slightly to the left, just outside the reach of my headlights. Like something stepping. The shape behind them remained hidden. Only the lights were visible. Blinking patiently, I grabbed the steering wheel. My pulse pounded in my ears. Okay, I whispered. Just reflections. Maybe someone with a bike light. Or a reflector. Or, flash, closer again. The lights moved forward, sliding along the edge of the headlights' reach. They stayed perfectly aligned. Exactly the distance apart that hazard lights would be on a car. Except they were higher, much higher, level with the top of my windshield. I realized then they weren't floating. They were attached to something tall, something standing just beyond the light. Another blink. For the briefest moment, the headlights illuminated a sliver of surface between them. Not metal, not glass. It looked wet, textured, like stretched skin reflecting amber. I slammed the car into drive. Gravel sprayed behind me as I accelerated back onto the road. The headlights jumped forward, swallowing the empty pavement ahead. The blinking disappeared instantly. Nothing in front of me, nothing behind. I drove fast, too fast for the narrow highway. The forest blurred into dark streaks on both sides. My heart pounded. Just nerves, just exhaustion. After a minute, I glanced in the rearview mirror. At first, there was nothing. Then, two amber flashes appeared far down the road behind me, perfectly aligned. Blinking slowly. Flash. The lights moved closer. Not along the ground. Higher. Like something running just outside the headlights of my own past. I pressed the accelerator harder. The engine whined. The road curved. The lights behind me stayed the same distance apart. The same height. But they weren't getting smaller. They were getting larger, which meant they weren't following the road. They were cutting through the forest beside it, keeping pace. Blink. The trees lit up for a split second in amber reflection. And for the first time, I saw the silhouette behind the lights. It was tall, too tall. Its limbs bent the wrong way as it moved between the trunks. And every few seconds, flash, it blinked, trying to match the signal of something it thought I would understand. I gripped the wheel harder. My dashboard stayed dark. My hazards were still off. But after another mile, something strange happened. The clicking returned. Soft, mechanical. Inside the car. Tick. I looked down. The hazard lights on the dashboard were blinking again. Tick. I hadn't touched the button. In the rearview mirror, the lights outside adjusted instantly. The rhythm changed. Perfectly synchronized now. Flash. Tick. Flash. Tick. The thing in the forest had stopped copying. It had learned. And now it was signaling back. Not from the woods, but from directly behind the car. The highway cut through the forest like a scar. It was the kind of road people used only when they had to. Two narrow lanes, faded paint lines, no streetlights, and mile after mile of dark trees leaning toward the asphalt like silent spectators. Fog had started settling in low pockets along the ground. Not thick enough to blind you, just enough to blur the distance and swallow detail. I had been driving for hours. The radio had long since dissolved into static, and the GPS signal flickered on and off like a dying pulse. The only steady things were the low hum of the engine and the steady rhythm of my heartbeat. A dull thump somewhere in my chest that seemed louder in the quiet car. Thump, thump. Headlights stretched down the empty road, the beam dissolving into gray mist. That's when I saw the billboard. At first, it was just a pale glow in the distance, rectangular and slightly crooked, half hidden by trees. The kind of roadside advertisement left behind when a highway stopped being popular. As I got closer, the glow sharpened. But it wasn't an advertisement. It was a number. 119. Bright white digits burned across the billboard's surface. They flickered once, then changed. 118. I frowned and slowed the car slightly. A countdown? Out here? The number shifted again. 117. There was no brand name, no company logo, no text, just the number. The billboard stood alone in a clearing beside the road. Its metal legs sunk into wet grass and fog. The digits changed again. 116. And that's when I noticed the rhythm. The number didn't change every second. It changed every beat. I felt it before I understood it. Thump. The number dropped. 115. Thump. 114. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. The timing felt wrong. Not mechanical. Organic. I glanced down at the dashboard clock. 2 in the morning. Dead highway. Dead forest. The number shifted again. 113. Right on cue with the pulse in my chest. I told myself it was coincidence. Maybe the sign was set to count down slowly, every second or two, and my brain was filling in the pattern. But the next number came exactly when my heart did. Thump. 112. I swallowed. Another beat. 111. My pulse sped up slightly, the way it does when your brain begins quietly deciding something isn't right. The number followed it. Thump. 110. I sat up straighter. That shouldn't happen. The sign kept counting. 109. My heart beat again. The digits changed immediately. Not half a second later. Not roughly. Exactly. Like something was listening from inside my chest. The fog thickened around the base of the billboard as I drove closer. My headlights cut through the mist, illuminating the metal structure holding it upright. The surface of the sign didn't look like a normal digital display. It was darker, almost glossy, like black glass reflecting the highway. Thump. 108. My breath came slower, careful, trying to steady my pulse. But the number waited. It didn't change until my heart did. Thump. 107. A cold prickle crawled across my neck. The countdown wasn't running on time. It was running on me. I pressed the accelerator and drove past the billboard. The bright numbers slid out of view behind me. The road ahead disappeared back into fog and darkness. I kept driving. 10 seconds passed. 20. My pulse remained heavy in my chest. Thump. Then I saw the glow again. I checked the rearview mirror. The billboard stood far behind me now, but the numbers were still visible, white digits floating above the trees like a distant star. And they were still changing. Thump. 103. My stomach twisted. There was no way I should still be able to see the numbers from that far away. Another beat. 102. The digits remained perfectly crisp, perfectly legible, like distance didn't apply to them. I turned my eyes back to the road. The forest had grown thicker here. Pine trunks crowded the roadside, their branches forming a dark canopy that swallowed the sky. The fog hung low between them. Thump. I looked again at the mirror. 100. The number had dropped faster than expected. My heart skipped slightly, then thumped again. 99. I realized something else then. The numbers weren't shrinking with distance. They were getting larger, which meant one of two things. Either the billboard behind me was growing, or there was another one ahead. I lifted my eyes. Through the fog, a faint rectangular glow appeared on the horizon. Another billboard. The digits came into focus slowly as I approached. 96. My pulse kicked harder. Thump. 95. The glow from the sign spilled onto the fog like pale moonlight. No logos, no text, just the countdown. I drove closer, unable to look away. The surface of the billboard reflected my headlights like dark water. Thump. 92. The number shifted with clinical precision. Every beat, every contraction of muscle in my chest. A thought crept slowly into my mind. What happens at 0? I swallowed hard. The forest around the road felt quieter now. Even the wind seemed gone. Just the engine. And my heart. Thump. 89. The sign loomed closer. Too close. Large enough now that I could see faint shapes moving inside the glossy surface. Reflections. But not from my car. They looked like silhouettes, standing behind the numbers. Tall. Still. Waiting. Thump. 86. My pulse accelerated without my permission. The numbers followed. Faster. Faster. Thump. 84. I slammed my hand against my chest, pressing hard as if I could slow the rhythm. It didn't matter. The billboard kept time perfectly. The silhouettes behind the numbers shifted slightly. Not reflections. Movement. Thump. 81. I realized the numbers weren't counting down to a moment. They were counting down to me. My breathing turned shallow. The road curved gently through the forest. The billboard moved closer. Larger. Brighter. Thump. 78. For a moment, The fog thinned, and I saw something that made my grip on the wheel tighten painfully. The metal supports beneath the billboard weren't anchored in the ground. They were legs, long, jointed, buried halfway into the forest floor like something crouching beside the road. The entire structure leaned forward slightly as if watching me pass. Thump, 74. The silhouettes behind the numbers were clearer now. They were standing in rows, facing the highway, facing me, each one tall and narrow and motionless. Thump, 72. My heart began racing uncontrollably. The digits dropped faster and faster. The glow of the billboard filled the entire windshield now. I sped past it. The numbers slid out of view. Dark forest returned. But the countdown didn't stop. I saw it reflected faintly in the rearview mirror. 69. Then the reflection appeared somewhere else. I looked down. The numbers glowed dimly on my dashboard screen. Thump, 68. The radio display flickered. The same digits appeared there. Thump, 67. My pulse hammered in my ears now, and every surface inside the car began showing the same glowing count. Rearview mirror, windshield reflection, even the dark glass of my phone, all displaying the same number. Thump, 64. I understood then. The billboard hadn't been counting down out there. It had been introducing the timer. The real countdown was happening somewhere much closer, inside the rhythm that kept me alive. Thump, 61. I gripped the wheel harder. The forest rushed past outside. The road stretched endlessly forward. But the numbers kept dropping. Thump, 58. And when I looked ahead through the fog again, I saw another billboard waiting in the distance, already displaying the next number.